Hi guys, it's Karen Stanley here. Here I am filming in the dark again in my writing shed. I just love being in here, and night time's like the best place to be because like done your housework, had your dinner, washed up, pyjamas on. You can't see the bottom half of me, which is a blessing. And I just come down here. It's like my little bit of escapism, really. I've been vlogging quite a lot recently with my books, trying to promote them and building my website and all of that. And the vlogging, I've really enjoyed the vlogging more than I thought I might. And someone said to me, well, why don't you do a little vlog about your writing journey and how you basically became a writer? And I thought, well, yeah, someone might be mildly interested. So I thought I'd share with you how it began. It's weird, really, how it began, because it was kind of just a chance comment that if we hadn't have had that conversation, it might never have happened. I don't know. I've always loved reading, always loved writing. And I read as a child. I loved reading poetry. I used to write a few silly little poems, but nothing of any consequence, really. Didn't really write anything longer than what you have to write for school. But I have always been an avid reader. And also, before I was a teacher, I was a hairdresser. I did a lot of mobile hairdressing, and I got a lot of stories from that, because you go around to people's houses and the things they tell you is quite funny. And my husband and I, we were in the car, and he always used to say to me, oh, who's are you doing today then? Because a lot of my ladies have sort of become, I've only got a few ladies I do now, and some of them are quite good friends, or some of them have disabilities, or they're a bit older. So it's kind of like, does them a favour, really, for me to go around and do their hair, and it helps them out a bit. So my husband said, oh, whose hair are you doing today? Oh, I'm doing Shirley's hair. Oh, I don't know Shirley. Well, no, you don't know Shirley because you've never met Shirley. And he always said it like he should know who that was. And he'd say, who's Shirley then? I'll say, Shirley, one-legged lady. One-legged lady who lives on Balmoral Road. By the way, her name isn't Shirley, and she doesn't live on Balmoral Road because she'd kill me on both counts. But, and he was like, oh, right, one-legged lady from Balmoral Road. And then he went, do you know what, Kaz, that's a brilliant title for a book. And I said, yeah, do you know what? That really is a brilliant title for a book. And that was how it began. How weird's that? And I've always had a sense of humour, and I've always found humour in life, and I've always been quite observational. I've always been a bit of a piss taker, really, a bit sarcastic. So I've always found that kind of humour quite funny. So I had all these little stories from my hairdressing, and I started writing them down. And for about 6 months, every time I saw something, I'd write it down in the book, all these little anecdotes. And then when I started to write the story, I was like, well, if it just becomes a list of anecdotes, it's going to be a bit boring. So I created Kaz, the main character, and then I wove a kind of story for Kaz, like about 10 points or things that might happen in her life. And then I just wove the anecdotes into that main story. And that's how the story came about. Once I had all the anecdotes and I had the main story planned, it literally took me about 3 months to write it, not long. And then people read it and people really enjoyed it. And at first you're thinking, oh, they only like it because they're my friends. But more people started to like it. And I was like, do you know what? I might be able to do this. People might actually like what I write. So people were like, when are you going to write a sequel? And I hadn't ever considered writing the sequel, really, weirdly. So then I wrote The Tattooed Bloke in the Flat Next Door. And it literally, that story purely came from my imagination. And it was Kaz, the main character in The One-Legged Lady. She sort of led me where that story might go. So I built upon her life and things that had happened. And again, just weaving in anecdotes, things I might have seen in Sainsbury's. I thought that's hilarious. Or someone on a bus being particularly twatty when in the book. And it's quite funny because since then lots of friends have said, oh, am I in your books? And I'm like, well, if you are, it's probably not a good thing. It probably means I'm taking the piss. And if I have my little notebook out and I'm writing and looking in your direction, you might want to be a bit afraid because it's not normally as complimentary as you might like. But yeah, that's just how it came about. It's quite funny, really. And then I wrote the Path to True Love, and that was kind of weird because my daughter-in-law said, do you know what? You should write a story like a bit sex in it. People love to read a bit of sex, a bit of a fruity story. My son's like, oh my fucking God, la la la, I can't have my mum and my wife talking about sex. That's weird on loads of different levels. And I was like, yeah, do you know what? I might write a frisky story. So I wrote this frisky story, and I'd read little bits to my husband. What do you think about that? And he's like, Kaz, where'd you get that? We've never done that. Like, where'd you get that from? I'm like, I just made it up. And he's like, you sure? You've got something to tell me. I'm like, no, I just made it up. But I think because I'm such a reader, I think you have to be a reader to be a writer, because your inspiration comes from the stories that you've read and stories that you like, and what you enjoy reading will often be, I think, what you enjoy writing. It was quite funny after that because my daughter-in-law was like, she had a conversation with Ben, my son, and said, your mum she ain't got a kitchen table, has she? I'm sure she ain't got a kitchen table. And he's like, no, she ain't got a kitchen table. And she was like, oh, that's all right then. Because if she has, we shouldn't eat it. Because in the story, they get a bit frisky on the kitchen table. And my son was like, oh my God, this is just weird on so many levels, but just made us laugh. And so really, that's how it happened. And then I started to write a bit of poetry. I don't know, that just came to me one day. I think I've gone to a poetry reading at the local bookshop where my books are, and I sort of get involved with them a little bit. And I listened to this woman reading poetry, and I thought, that's quite funny. I'd like to do that. So I just started writing it about the menopause and just things that make me laugh. And people really enjoyed it, which was hugely flattering to me, to think that people liked what I wrote. It's such a buzz, and you just feel like quite humble that people actually are interested in what you've got to say. So if ever you've read any of my stuff, I'm ridiculously grateful. And I've got a new novel coming out soon, which I won't give you the title yet because it's not quite ready for publication, so I'll leave that as a little bit of suspense. But the inspiration came from that. My husband and I had popped into a social club. We don't normally go there, I hasten to add, and it was like an impromptu visit. Some friends went, oh, it's a band playing at this like Legion, or British Legionnaires it should have been called. We went in, and it was an absolute shithole. It was like one of those places, you know, when your feet stick to the carpet, and the band were really cheesy. Not really my thing. And there's some old boy in the corner with a bottle of red wine in his pocket, like lecturing at all the women. And the couple who happened to be at our table had a massive fucking argument, and Eden more or less dragged her out by her ear holes. And there was just so many characters in there. I could have sat in there all day, because I said to my husband, this is a book. This is like a whole book in itself, is this social club. And that's where that story came from. And for me, it's very much about a title. If I've got a title, I've kind of got a story. And that's weird. I don't know how that happens, but if I get a title in my head, the story just sort of flows. It just sort of comes from there. So I don't know why or how that happens, but I love it. I really enjoy it. And if any of you out there are kind of creative, or you think, oh, do you know what? I'm sure there's people out there who are better writers than I will ever be. It's just about having the confidence to just go for it and have a try. What's the worst that can happen? It's hugely enjoyable. I'd say I probably enjoy writing a book as much as I enjoy reading one, because it's just, there's two types of writers. Apparently there's planners and pantsers. I don't know if this is true. Planners plan everything meticulously, and pantsers are called that because they fly by the seat of their pants. And that's pretty much me in life in general. So once I start the story, it just sort of, like I talk, it just goes, it just starts coming out, and I can't kind of stop it. So it's just weird how it happens, isn't it? So had my husband not made those funny remarks about the one-legged lady from Balmoral Road, we might never be having this chat now, which is funny. It's funny how life takes you, and it's like things that you least expect to happen sometimes do happen for brilliant reasons. So for any of you who have been following me, or who have read my books, or have liked my books, or my vlogging, or whatever, massive thanks to you. It's so, you can't imagine how much it's appreciated. So long may it continue. Let's hope it can. All the while the stories come, I shall write them down. Anyway, if you feel the need, do it yourself. What have you got to lose? And I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.